The Titans took a guard at pick 11, and it was the right decision. I'm going to explain why on today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. I'm going to tell you why the Titans were right to select Peter Skoronski, and it is starting to show on the field. Also, we're going to do a little tank watch for the Tennessee Titans. We're going to look at the other teams that are battling for draft position and what they might end up with win-wise. And then finally, I'm going to give some additional analysis on Will Levis's performance against the Carolina Panthers, because I've been thinking about it a lot more, and I think this is a good thing for Will Levis. But before we get into all of that, thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. Tomorrow, we're going to have crossover Thursday with the guys from Locked On Colts. Also going to have Game Plan Friday, where I tell you how the Titans can win this game. And I'll be going live on Sunday immediately after the game concludes to give you guys my thoughts. But with that being said, going to dive into today's show. And we got to talk about Peter Skoronski, because there is a comment that I see all the time from certain Titans fans, and I think it's just completely off base, and we're starting to see why. It's, the Titans took a guard at pick 11. They took a guard at pick 11. Well, in my opinion, they took the best player available in the draft. And not only that, we talked about this during the draft process, but Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel talked about getting blue players, which is blue chip players. And Skoronski was one of those, so he was ranked even higher on their board than the pick that they used to get him at pick number 11. And I get it. You talk about positional value, wide receivers, edge rushers, offensive tackles, quarterbacks, cornerbacks. I get all that. I'm not going to be a guy to sit up here and tell you that I don't believe in positional value. But in this specific draft class, with the specific context of these players, it is clear that Skoronski was the best choice, and it's starting to play out on the field. Peter Skoronski has been on fire the last 3 weeks, okay? He's allowed 0 sacks and only 2 pressures. And those 2 pressures came against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they have another fellow first-round pick in Kalijah Kancey and Vita Vea, all right? So for the last 2 weeks, Skoronski, 0 sacks, 0 pressures, and has had an over 85 pass blocking grade on Pro Football Focus. So not only has Peter Skoronski been good, he's been excellent in pass protection. Now, he's going to have to get better in run blocking. One of the big things, though, that is a piece of adversity that Skoronski has been dealing with, he had an unexpected midseason surgery. Imagine going through camp, going through the preseason, going through week 1, getting ready to play, and then you got to have surgery, and you're out for a month. Okay, that would be hard to do for a regular person to get back in the rhythm and flow of things. For Skoronski, he lost weight, he lost strength, and he said that himself. So we're talking about a guy where strength and power is more important than in any other position in the NFL, and he lost a bunch of it. So it's not just like a wide receiver or a running back or somebody getting back into speed and shape and stamina. He literally lost strength at a position where it's most vital to be strong. So, of course, the run blocking is suffering a little bit. But he finally just got back in shape, finally just got his fitness level back, and now he's been dominant in pass protection. Not only did he have the midseason injury, people are going to point out some of his bad games that he had, like in week 5 against Indianapolis or week 9 against the Steelers. Well, week 5 in Indianapolis, DeForest Buckner. Week 9, Cam Hayward returns for the Steelers. Those are tough matchups for anybody, let alone a rookie who is coming back from a midseason surgery that zapped his strength. So no, it hasn't been perfect all the time. He hasn't been fully dominant for every game, but think about that. And not only that, out of every position group in the NFL, which position group requires the most chemistry? Most people would tell you offensive line. The offensive line working together is more important than any other group when it comes to chemistry. Well, Peter Skoronski has been playing to the worst left tackle position in the NFL, whether it's been Dillard, whether it's been MPF, whether it's been Jalen Duncan, whether it's been Dylan Radins. The Titans have had the worst left tackle position in the NFL all year. And Skoronski's been trying to help that. While on the other side, having Aaron Brewer, the smallest starting offensive lineman in the NFL, and he's trying to help there. So the circumstances and the chemistry around him is awful. And then he dealt with a mid-season surgery that zapped his strength, and yet he's still rebounding. He's still been one of the best offensive linemen in the league the last few weeks. And if you want to go back to week 1, Peter Skoronski was the 8th highest graded offensive lineman, not guard, not interior, the 8th highest graded offensive lineman in the NFL. And that is with allowing a sack, which in my opinion, the only sack that Skoronski's been credited with allowing this year. In my opinion, if you go back and look at that play on tape in week 1 against New Orleans, it was Andre Dillard who did not properly collapse in to pick up the stunting defensive tackle. So to me, it wasn't even Skoronski's fault. So he's really given up 0 sacks. And that is all while coming back from the surgery, playing on one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL with the worst left tackle position next to him. And this offense, where teams are teeing off on the Titans, bringing constant pressure, constant blitzes in their face, like all of these circumstances together, it's incredible that Skoronski has had the good games that he's had. And he's getting even better now that he's getting back into his body and getting more comfortable. He was named to ESPN's all-youngster team for 2023, despite what we talked about in the adversity here. So when Skoronski's been healthy and been physically right, he's been awesome. And you want to compare that to the other you want to talk about Lucas Van Ness, premium position, been a disappointment for the Packers this year. Will McDonald for the Jets, edge rusher, doesn't make sense for the Titans. Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback for Washington. Christian Gonzalez was good when he wasn't hurt with the Patriots. He was good. Okay, you want to make that argument. Kalijah Cansey, Jack Campbell, and anything less than that, the wide receivers, JSN and Quentin Johnston were the ones who were the first 2 receivers taken. They've been the most disappointing. Flowers and Addison have been better. And those guys were taken 10 picks later. So how far are the Titans reaching for a wide receiver at that point based on the value of their board? Like, it doesn't make sense. You compare him to the other offensive linemen. Skoronski has given up 1 sack, which I don't even think should be on him. It should be on Dillard, and 16 pressures this year and like 470 snaps. Right from Tennessee, the Tennessee offensive tackle. 6 sacks, 38 pressures. Paris Johnson Jr., my favorite offensive lineman. 6 sacks, 34 pressures. Cody Mock from Tampa Bay. 6 sacks, 21 pressures. Osiris Torrance, the other first-round guard for the Bills. Or second round, he ended up going. 1 sack, 28 pressures. Steve Avila for the Rams, another rookie guard that was drafted high. 2 sacks, 25 pressures. Anton Harrison, an offensive tackle, premium position, Jaguars starter, 5 sacks, 18 pressures. The only guy even close to Skoronski in terms of production is Broderick Jones, who you could argue is the other person who I would have picked if I were the Titans at that position. An offensive tackle, but Broderick Jones has given up 1 sack and 11 pressures. He's been a backup for most of the year, and he's played 100 less snaps than Peter Skoronski while not dealing with the midseason injury. So to me, it's obvious that Peter Skoronski was the right pick for the Titans. When they get a real left tackle next to him and actually put resources to the offensive line, Skoronski is going to be dominant at left guard. He's going to be a Pro Bowl left guard. He's going to have the potential to be an all-pro left guard. And everybody's saying, oh, you picked a guard at 11. It's totally throwing out the context of the draft class that he was in, the position that the Titans were in with their needs, and is just ignoring what's happened with the people who were drafted behind him anyways. Who is the better pick here? If you want to argue Broderick Jones or you want to argue Jordan Addison, then sure. But those are the only things that even make sense. So to me, it's obvious Skoronski was the right pick. He's starting to get himself together. He's starting to play great football. And with the circumstances and adversity that he's had this year, I think he deserves tremendous praise. But with that being said, we are going to get into talking about next year's draft pick and where the Titans might pick. We're going to look at the other teams that the Titans are competing with for a top 10 draft pick and see how many wins they might have and how many wins the Titans might have. Before we get into all of that, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Look, DoorDash always delivers. I mean that figuratively and literally. Whether it be food, whether it be, and restaurant food, I should say, whether it be groceries, because groceries are food too, after all, whether it be, I don't know, retail items, it doesn't matter. DoorDash has your back. You've counted on them before to deliver meals. Now count on them for grocery, count on them for retail. It's a triple threat from DoorDash. And if you haven't tried DoorDash, right now is the perfect time to do so. You're sitting down for game day. You need some food, especially if you're in Nashville. Acme Feed and Seed on DoorDash, it's the way to go. Right now, you can get 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. All you have to do is download the DoorDash app, use the code LOCKED23. That's LOCKED 23, subject to change. Terms apply. Again, that's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order. When you download the DoorDash app, enter code LOCK23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Also, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. I love PrizePicks because instead of going up against a bunch of bots or 1,000 lineups from the same, sharp or whatever it is, other daily fantasy, it's just you against the PrizePicks projections. So here's how it works. PrizePicks has projections for every player. 275 passing yards for Patrick Mahomes, 5 catches for Travis Kelce, 70 rushing yards for Derrick Henry, 4 catches for DeAndre Hopkins. You get what I'm saying here. You pick 2 to 6 players, and you say whether the players are going to do more or less than the PrizePicks projection. If you win, you can get it up to 25 times your money. I love PrizePicks. You will too. Make sure you go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Peter Skoronski, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep defending him. The tape shows it. He's been playing well. He's the best offensive lineman on the team lately. He's going to continue to be so, and the Titans were right to take him. But with that being said, we're going to talk about who the Titans might take next and what pick they might have when they get there. Before we get into it, thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Remember, tomorrow's crossover Thursday with the guys from Locked On Colts. And then Friday is Game Plan Friday, where we talk about how the Titans can win. Sunday, I'll be breaking down the game immediately live after it finishes. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But we're going to do a little tankathon here. And I'm going to start kind of keeping track of where the Titans are, because I don't know if the Titans are going to win another game the rest of the year. They might win this week against Indianapolis, but after that, home game against the Texans. Texans look pretty good. Week 18, home against Jacksonville. Maybe Jacksonville is out of the running, and they want to sit guys. But the point is, Titans might not win another game this year, and if they do, it might only be 1 or 2. I would say 2 at max. The Titans aren't winning more than 2 games the rest of the year. I would think maybe the Colts game, and then one of the Texans or the Seahawks is what I think really end up being wins. But when you look at the other teams that are in the top 10 mix for the Titans and how many wins they might get, it starts to kind of put in perspective where the Titans need to be here if they really want to get one of the top guys that could help the team. namely Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver, Joe Alt at offensive tackle, Ola Fashanu at offensive tackle. Those are the 3 top options for me for the Titans. We're going to have a realistic conversation now, though, about one of those players, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. The Titans are not drafting him. Excuse me. I enjoyed the conversation and the debate of if the Titans had to choose between Marvin Harrison Jr. and the offensive tackles, what would they do? That's a fun thought experiment. But with the Titans win against the Panthers, it basically takes them out of the running for Marvin Harrison Jr. Okay? Look at the top 10, the rest of the top 10. Right now, the Titans have the 10th pick. So here's what it looks like. The Panthers at number 1, which their pick goes to the Chicago Bears, but for conversation purposes, we'll talk about the Panthers. The Panthers play at Tampa Bay, the Saints, the Falcons coming. They're not going to get any more wins. The Panthers might win one more game, 2 wins at max. They're going to get the number 1 pick. It's going to go to Chicago. Okay. And then you have the Cardinals. The Cardinals with Kyler Murray look improved. They look more competitive, but they play at Pittsburgh. They play the 49ers remaining. Like, the Cardinals aren't going to win a bunch more games. They simply don't have the team to do so. So what? They might win 1 more game at max. Doubtful. And then the Patriots. The Patriots look lifeless. They play the Chargers. They play the Steelers. They play the Chiefs. They play the Jets again. Like, the Patriots probably aren't winning another game, and they're going to roll with Bailey Zappi at quarterback. So you're looking at the Panthers, the Cardinals, and the Patriots at the top, all with 2 wins or less. And I don't think any of them win more than 1 more game the rest of the year at max. So to me, it's pretty set in stone. The top 3 teams are going to be the Panthers, the Cardinals, and the Patriots, which, of course, the Panthers pick goes to the Bears. So if I'm the Bears, I'm trading out to pick 1 and letting someone come up and get Caleb Williams or Drake May. If I'm the Cardinals, I'm probably taking Marvin Harrison Jr. to go with Kyler Murray. If I'm the Patriots, I'm taking one of the quarterbacks, Drake May or Caleb Williams, and if they aren't there, I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr. That's simple. And then I'll try to find a veteran quarterback to go with him. So to me, the 2 quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison Jr., probably not going to be a realistic possibility because the Panthers to the Bears, the Cardinals, and then the Patriots. But after that, it's all teams with 4 wins. The Bears 4-8, the Commanders 4-8, the Giants 4-8, the Bucks 4-7, the Jets 4-7, the Chargers 4-7. So to me, the Titans have to find a way to be one of the bottom 2 teams of that pack. Because after you have Marvin Harrison and the 2 quarterbacks, then you have the 2 offensive tackles. Now, other teams may have other players ranked higher or into the top 5, but if you're the Titans, you have to look at it that way. Like, I need a top 5 pick to secure one of the offensive tackles that I want. I need a top 5 pick for that. So the Bears. The Bears have a bye, but then they play the Lions, probably a loss, but then they play the Browns. The Bears could win that game with the Browns quarterback situation. They play the Cardinals. The Bears should beat the Cardinals. I believe that. They play the Falcons. They play the Packers. I think the Bears can get 2 more wins and get to 6-11. I think that absolutely can happen. The Commanders, they play the Dolphins, the Rams, the Jets, the 49ers, the Cowboys. Maybe they beat the Jets or the Rams. Maybe. But I could see the Commanders losing out. 0 wins. So in my opinion, it's the Panthers, Bears, Cardinals, Patriots, and then the Commanders that I don't think the Titans can get above. I don't think so. But after that, the Giants, they have a bye. They play the Packers. They're at home for that. They could beat the Packers at home. Tommy DeVito's been slinging it, baby. After that, the Saints, the Eagles, the Rams, the Eagles, maybe the Rams, but the Giants probably only getting 1 more win, maybe 2 more wins at max. After that, the Buccaneers. Buccaneers play the Panthers this week, and they're at home. They're winning that game. They play the Falcons. They play the Packers. They play the Panthers again. The Bucs are going to win 2 games. The Bucs are going to win 2 more games for sure. The Chargers, they play the Patriots this week. They should win that game. They get the Broncos. They get the Raiders. They get the Broncos again. the Chargers should win 2 games. So basically what I'm saying is here, the Panthers, Cardinals, and Patriots and Commanders probably not going to win more than 1 more game. But the Bears, the Buccaneers, the Jets, the Chargers, they should all win 2 more games. So if the Titans win no more games or 1 more game, I think they get a top 5 pick with 5 wins. They're going to be battling with the Giants and the Commanders right there at that spot. So I'm not telling you to root against the Titans. I'm just saying if the Titans lose, you shouldn't feel bad because based on what I'm seeing here, they're going to need to do a little bit more if they want to make sure they can get their hands on Joe Alt or Ola Fashanu, which is who I desperately want the Titans to end up with because you pair that left tackle with Peter Skoronski, and now you are absolutely cooking on the left side once again, like when you had Lewan and Saffold at their peak. But with that being said, we are going to move forward in today's show. Going to talk about Will Levis. And I know I was a little critical on yesterday's show, but the more that I've thought about it, the more I think it's a good thing that we're seeing the mistakes that we're seeing. I'll explain why here in just a second. Before I do, though, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to have as many top-tier candidates as possible so that you can interview them. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. All right? LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. But thankfully, LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, easy, and they've just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions and makes the process even easier, even quicker. Make sure that you post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about Peter Skoronski really coming on as of late. We talked about where the Titans are in the top 10 and where they might pick, what we need to watch for going forward. Now I want to talk a little bit more about Will Levis's performance against the Carolina Panthers. Before I get into it, thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day. Also want to let you guys know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Okay. Quick conversation about Will Levis here against the Panthers, because on yesterday's show, I said that I thought it was the most disappointing performance that I've seen from Will Levis in his starts. While that could be true, I think that's not the right way to look at it. Okay? I've been thinking about it a lot. These are the things that I think about when I lay my head down at night, okay? And after Levis's struggles against the Steelers, I kind of thought to myself, one word: calibration. Calibration. So Levis was able to throw bombs with impunity against the Falcons, and he was just airing it out. Well, after that, the conversation was, hey, you got to make the right decisions. You got to understand situational awareness. You don't just want to throw the bomb every time. If it's 4th and short, it's 3rd and short, it's 2-minute drills, stuff like that. Maybe you just need to take the profit, take what's available, and not force it. Well, I would say maybe in the last 2 games, definitely in the game against Carolina on multiple occasions, 2 occasions in particular that stand out in my head, one to Chris Moore, one to DeAndre Hopkins. or Kyle Phillips and DeAndre Hopkins and Chris Moore. I will say there were 3 in my head actually now that are popping up. 3 plays. Slot seam to Chris Moore, a slot seam on a dagger to Kyle Phillips before halftime, and then the deep post by Hopkins in the second half. I feel like Levis has overcorrected that. He's trying to be more situationally aware, and the Phillips one was at 2 minutes. And he's probably thinking, hey, I can't take the deep shot in 2 minutes. We just need to get this ball down the field. So while I was disappointed with some of the decision-making and some of the, let's say, lack of downfield throws, I think this is good because this is part of the calibration. We want Will Levis to go into the film room after a game like the Steelers and say, hey, I took too many shots downfield. Hey, situationally, I should have taken this one that was open. Blah, blah, blah. But the other side of that is we need Will Levis to also turn some throws down that he should have made so he can go into the film room and say, oh, that guy was open. I need to let that go. This season and Levis playing the rest of the year is all a calibration. Oh, I need to be this aggressive. That's a little too aggressive. Let's bring it back. Oh, that was a little too conservative. Let's find it there. Oh, this situation, I see this coverage. I am going to take the deep shot. Oh, I'm not going to. This entire season and this experience that Will Levis is getting right now is so pivotal because it allows him to do the calibration that he needs to understand what throws need to be made, what throws he can make, what throws he should make. So after watching the film, I came right out of the film room. I sat down. I was like, man, I saw some bad stuff in there. But look, the more that I've thought about it, the more perspective that I've had on it. Think about it in the long term. He's still a rookie. He's going to make these mistakes. He's going to make bad decisions. And it's honestly a good thing because I would rather have Will Levis making these bad decisions and trying to calibrate things right now, what he should do, what he shouldn't do, when he shouldn't do it. I would rather have him doing that right now in a season where I don't think the Titans are very good. The Titans don't really have a chance at the playoffs. They're 4-7. They're not mathematically eliminated, but let's be honest about the football team that we see every single weekend. All right, this is not a very good football team. So if Will Levis can make these mistakes and do that calibration now so that he feels comfortable and he feels set and he has a good understanding of what he should do, when he should do it next year, when the Titans have reloaded with $100 million in cap space and 8 draft picks, that is what is most important. So keeping the main thing, and not losing sight of where you're going. Where we're going is next year with a revamped roster and Will Levis in his second season. Not worried about the games that they win or lose now. It's an experiment. It's testing. And we have to remember that as a rookie, when you're out there in that circumstance, you do have to, hey, that used to work. It won't anymore. Hey, I didn't do that. Maybe I should have. Test that. All of that experimentation is so important early on in your rookie year as you get adjusted to the speed of the NFL that I think it's a very good thing that we're seeing these mistakes from Will Levis as well. I don't think it's anything to panic about. And I guess after having some time to think about it and think about where the Titans are, that's where I land after this performance. So if you were feeling bad about Will Levis yesterday, come back off the ledge. Come back off the ledge, my friends. But wish you would step back from up. Don't want to get a copyright strike. YouTube is out there watching. But with that being said, getting a little off the rails. That's all right. I'm going to be back with you guys for Crossover Thursday tomorrow. But that is going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.